pebble sticks into the window. That's not a pebble. It's a tooth. But you can't tell. And that, of course, causes her to go investigate the strange noise. Because that's what you do.
Never investigate the strange noise.
But she has an excuse. 'Tis a dream.
Yeah.
And every dream, you always go investigate the strange noise. So, unlike every other movie in the history of ever, she has an excuse.
Right. Well, does she know it's a dream?
No.
Yeah, so...
And we don't even know because...
Because the setting is her house.
Until the next scene. Because they made a point, and I didn't even realize this until I read it in the book again. 90%, if not all, of the dream sequences are fogged.
Right.
So there's fog everywhere.
Like, you can tell
you can tell. If you're paying attention, you can tell, but it's subtle as fuck, which is one of the reasons I think they did an amazing job.
So she runs into Freddy. Like, she hears the screeching again. She sees him coming down the laneway. And I think the only, like, cheesy, like, not so scary one...
I love this scene,
really?
though.
It's
I
like
love
him walking down and his arms, like, really super, like, Mr. Fantastic
his
style
arms
extended.
stretch out. Now, it was supposed to be a different... it was supposed to be much more impressive, but low budget. Literally meant fake arms held by fishing poles.
I think that's why. I think just the low budget.
But on top of it, he was also supposed to say more, and they cut it.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to say things, which I think would have worked. It would have helped, I think, the creepy nature of it, because you don't know why he's doing it. Because he just does it, and you're just like, there it is, because it's funny.
Because everything else in this movie that he does is super creepy.
Is creepy, but this doesn't make sense. But what he was saying, because the idea is she's walking that way, and he's supposed to say, and he does say in a deleted scene of like, you know, like I think she says something along the lines of like, you're not here, and he says, oh yeah, try getting by these.
Yeah.
And that's when his arms stretch out, and I'm like, it wouldn't have softened how not great they look, but it would have made it make sense at least.
Yeah.
Of why he's doing it. Yeah. And this is one of the first times you actually see Robert Englund not playing Freddy. Right after the arm thing, the guy running, and you can tell. You can absolutely tell when you look at it. The way he's running at her, he's literally running with his arms shaking side to side. And then it cuts to Robert Englund as Freddy, and he jumps out of the tree. That was him.
Right.
So
she's being chased in her yard. Gets tackled by the third line.
Yeah. A lot of tackling in this movie. It's not the only time it happens.
Into the trash cans, and then cut to Rod waking up, hearing her screaming. And just, he can't do anything. Like, he
just sort of goes, I don't know what the hell's going on, because she's screaming for him.
Because the sheet gets pulled over Freddy and her.
Because they've gone from the front steps, and it's transported them into her bed now. And the reality he's seeing is her fighting, but they're under the covers now. Freddy's on top of her. And Rod gets knocked out of bed, kind of. And sort of gets up like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is she doing?
Because he pulls the sheet.
And he pulls the sheet,
rising.
and she's... Not yet.
Oh.
She's, like, freaking out, and he doesn't know what's going on. And then her shirt is ripped open, and 4 cuts appear. And that's when she holds her chest, and she starts rising, and spins around and kicks him in the face, and he goes flying.
And then she's fucking Lionel Richie at this point. She's dancing on the ceiling.
Yeah, she basically gets thrown to the ground and then dragged up and onto the ceiling. Now, this is an interesting scene because of multiple reasons. One, it was supposed to be Freddy dragging her, and they were going to have images from like her holding the camera like between her legs of Freddy holding it, but they were like, that's a little too creepy. So they kind of pulled back on that. And the way that they accomplished this is they flat out built a rotating room.
Okay.
And they built everything, and they starched the shit out of everything, so everything stays there. And then, like, Rod, the reason why Rod is only from over his shoulder is because they had to strap him down. And they sort of dragged her, and they're slowly rotating the room. The way it was built, and, you know, engineering is awesome. One person could rotate this room by himself, even with everything in it. No, just by himself. With his hands. Yeah, just rotate it.
Like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, kind of. And they were doing it this way. And that's how that kind of went. They used the room a second time, which I'll get to later on. But they did that. Like, this rotating room cost something like $10,000. But it's made its money back in spades, because this is also not the only movie it's been used. It was also used in Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. But the funny thing about it was, it's disorienting as fuck when you're in it.
Yeah.
So at a couple times when Amanda Wyss was in the room on the ceiling, she started to freak the fuck out.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because she thought she was going to fall. So Wes, laughing and giggling, just walks over and goes, okay. And he walks in and he goes, I'm standing on the ground. You're on the ground. Everything's okay. And he grabs her hand and pulls her out really nicely and everything like that. And he's just like, that's funny. Then he started getting nauseous. Because it's got to be disorienting.
You know what? You're right. This does suck.
This fucking sucks. God, I wish we didn't have to do this a second time.
Yeah, she gets ripped apart.
Yeah, so she basically she falls down, and she lands on the bed, and blood splashes into Rod's face. Now, it was supposed to be a much bigger splash, but the MPAA was like, oh, fuck no. Whatever.
Yeah, just
cool.
like...
All right.
Because again,
Fair
blood,
enough.
violence.
Yeah.
It's the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
She gets ripped apart.
Mm-hmm.
Blood, fucking, like, yeah.
Just everywhere.
Buckets.
Like,
and this isn't the only one where buckets of blood is used.
Yeah. So...
I'm like, there's more blood. There's not that much blood in the human body.
Well, in the next one, when they also, ironically, when they use the rotating room, I can explain that, kind of. But, so... Rod basically just says, who did this? I'll kill you. And he's freaking the fuck out and screaming to everybody, and alright, I guess it is what it is. And then Nancy finally, I guess, wakes up from the screaming, which I'm like...
Yeah, it's like she's screaming.
How long did it take you?
Like, Tina was screaming, Rod was screaming. Like, I get that it might be a big house, but, like, they're like...
Yeah.
And
like,
how did... Glenn heard them having fucking...
If Glenn having fuck... Yes, he heard them having fuck. And, he would have been there faster, but... And, well, actually, at the same time, Nancy would have been down the hall.
Yeah.
So, she should have been there first, which she was. She should have been there quicker, but she wasn't. So, they burst in, and Glenn has the response that you should have, where he just walks in and goes, fuck, and he backs up and, like, tries to set himself on the wall. Nancy just sort of looks around like, well, this happened. She's got this look of, like, I guess it's supposed to be shock, but I don't know, it just looks a little weird, because she doesn't react, really. She just sort of looks around, looks at the window, looks at her dead friend on the ground, and it's just like, all right. And then we cut to Lieutenant Thompson.
Yes. Lead of the police department, and we find out her dad.
Yeah. He says,
because he's like not even concerned about Tina. He's just like, where's my daughter? What was she doing there?
He's just like, well, the mom's gone to Vegas. We're trying to reach her now. And he's looking and going, great. What was she doing there? She lives there. Not her. I mean you. And then literally just turns, and I like this, because you can tell immediately what Wes is trying to prove, because he turns immediately, like, he goes, what were you doing there? And turns to the ex-wife, and goes, what was she doing there? Hello, Donald. Marge.
It's like, oh, well, we see that this marriage ended horribly. Not really addressed. I guess that's not the point.
It's implied.
Yeah.
There's a lot implied in the movie, and you can very easily fill in the blanks of why their marriage fell apart based on something that happens later on. You can go, oh yeah, that might be a reason for you to, her to hit the bottle and him to be like, fuck this bitch. Because she has probably one of my favorite lines in cinema later on, but I'll get to that later.
So they obviously arrest Rod because he was in the room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they do a whole thing. They do a whole sting operation because Nancy goes to school and makes the whole joke of like, I'll sleep and study all. And then she fucks off to work, and she notices that there's a cop watching her. And she goes, that's weird. And then looks back and he's gone, KGB type shit. And
is this when she freaked out? Or is that later, when she actually got to school?
Oh, no, this is the same one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it goes immediately to that. Because Rod grabs her, pulls her into the flower bed where, he can't be seen, and it's just like, oh, they're going to kill me for sure. And she's like, did you do it? And he goes, no, I didn't do it. Like, it was just, it happened.
But I didn't see the guy.
Like, I didn't see the fucker. Like, I don't know where he came from. And then he literally is like, she's looking at him going like, well, how could you not, like, you were there, how did you not see him? And he says very threateningly, like, don't look at me like I'm some fucking fruitcake, I'm warning you. And then enter her dad with a gun.
Yeah,
I'm like,
freeze.
Move, son, like your ass depends on it. And then he fucking bolts. and runs onto the ground.
Well, Nancy jumps in front because he got a
Oh, yeah,
clear
sorry.
shot.
He was going to shoot him,
Nancy
and then
jumps
Nancy's
in
like,
front of the
no!
gun.
And he's like, Jesus Christ. And he runs. And I heard from Sue Garcia in this going like, this was the worst scene for me to film. I'm like, why? He's like, it's fucking California. It's hot as shit. I'm barefoot and shirtless. Like, not only did I have to
and
run,
a leather jacket on.
Yeah.
Like,
well, not even just that. Not only did he have to run on the hot asphalt in barefoot, he had to lie flat on his stomach on the asphalt. He's like, it was the worst day of my life. He's like, my feet were cut up. My chest was on fire. It was awful. I guess that might explain the heroin later on.
So she gets to class eventually.
Yeah. So she says, like, you used me, runs off, and then cut to her in class. The teacher's being nice, like, puts her hand on her shoulder, like, you know, we're in this together. Ironically, this is Lynn Shay, Bob's sister.
Who's been in tons of
horror.
movies.
Like, she's just
Tons
a
of
horror
horror
lady.
movies.
Yeah, she could technically be called a scream queen.
I think she's recently been in the Insidious franchise.
I wouldn't know.
Believe so.
Ghost stories bore the crap out of me.
Let's
Let's look at a wall. I swear something's gonna happen.
But she's been in a ton of movies. I'm assuming your first, or
her first? Nope.
Yeah, no,
she's been around.
She's been around.
I'm pretty sure. I would guarantee you that everything that Bob was producing, she was involved in, because there was, like I said, there were 2 more movies before.
So she falls asleep.
Yeah,
we don't know that.
Well,
I guess
you get to know it pretty much as the franchise goes on, that if they blink and their head bobs for half a second, they're asleep. So she turns around and sees her Tina in a body bag.
Mm-hmm.
Just
like calling out to her, like Nancy.
Calling Nancy very creepily. And then she's dragged in the body bag, and it's got like a snail trail.
Mm-hmm.
And then she starts running after her, and then smacks into the fucking hall monitor, who just says, like, hey, who's wearing a striped Freddy shirt, and just says, you know, where's your pass? Screw your pass. And walks away, and it's like, hey, Nancy, no running in the hallway. And it's Freddy's voice coming out of
and
this
she
girl.
has the glove.
And she's got the glove. And then Nancy apparently doesn't think much of this.
No.
And she's like, all right, I'm going to keep going. And then follows her friend down the mysterious stairway we didn't know we had. And is in a boiler room. Doesn't seem to bother her yet. Doesn't seem that this is weird.
That she's following her dead friend in a body bag.
Yes.
Who has spoken to her.
Yes. Now, even I'm forgetting, is this the cockroach thing, or no, not the cockroach, the centipede thing?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Those were real. Not the one in her mouth.
Yeah.
But all the ones around her and all the snakes and everything around her, those were all real. Amanda Wyss had to stand in that. And she started to think halfway through going, are they just doing this to see how much I'll put up with? Like, it got to a point where she eventually had to be like, all right, that's enough centipedes.
Because it's where, like, Freddy also, like, lifts up his shirt and nicks himself.
Yeah.
And oozes out more maggots.
Sorry, that absolutely was that, yeah. Because he's basically, because she like, asked, like, who are you? And that's his response. Just
lifts up his shirt
and cuts himself.
And then bugs come out.
No, it's green slime and maggots.
Yeah, it's like, that's not an answer.
Well, I mean, I'm sufficiently sufficed. Like, I wouldn't ask any more questions of the man who does that. I think I'm good. You know what? I'm okay. You do what you got to do. So she runs and backs herself into a corner, because that's what you do. And Freddy is
like
stalking her at this point. And she'd already talked to Glenn. I think we forgot a part where she talked to Glenn, and Glenn said, like, the best way to deal with it is just tell yourself it's a dream.
No, that's later.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because
on the bridge.
Doesn't she say, like, it's only a dream, God damn you?
That's later, I think.
No. The thing on the bridge was him explaining to her, you take away
how
its
to
power.
Control.
You take away its power. This is him saying, like, you just tell yourself it's a dream, and you wake right up.
Well, she wakes herself up by, like, she sees, like, a burning pipe.
Yeah, it doesn't work. She goes, like, it's only a dream, and he's doing the tongue flick thing at her. And she's like, God damn you, it's only a dream, and that's not working. So she burns herself on one of the pipes, and that'll immediately wake you up. Because, by the way, if you do that in your dream, that will absolutely wake you up. Yep. If you hurt yourself in your dream, you will immediately wake up. I don't know why. I think your brain just snaps into it.
So she wakes up just,
Yeah.
She just gets out of her chair, and the teacher's like, "Oh Jesus, okay, it's okay,
But
it's okay."
But the best part is she just goes she goes like I gotta go, and she gets her shit to go, and the teacher literally goes, you'll need a pass. I'm like, I see what you did there.